My little brother woke me up at night and said we need to leave right now. So we did. The hand on my shoulder was shaking me so hard my teeth rattled, and when I opened my eyes, Caleb's face was inches from mine in the darkness. His eyes were huge and terrified in a way I'd never seen before, not even when he broke his arm falling out of the treehouse when he was 8. Avery, we have to go right now, he whispered, his voice cracking. I heard them talking downstairs and they're going to do something really bad, and we can't be here when they wake up. I was still half asleep, struggling to process why my 13-year-old brother was in my room at what my clock said was 2:47 a.m. on a Thursday night. I started to tell him to go back to bed, that whatever he heard was probably just a nightmare, but then I saw what he was holding. Our dad's hunting knife, the one he kept locked in the gun safe, was gripped in Caleb's shaking hand with dried blood on the blade. My whole body went cold and I sat up so fast I nearly headbutted him. Where did you get that? Is that blood? Caleb, what's going on? He was already moving to my closet, pulling out my backpack and stuffing random clothes into it with jerky, panicked movements. I'll explain when we're safe, but we have maybe an hour before they notice, and if we're still here when they wake up, we're not going to be okay. His voice had this flat certainty that scared me more than the knife or the blood, because Caleb had always been the dramatic one, the kid who cried at sad movies and got anxious about everything. Seeing him this calm while saying something this terrifying meant whatever he'd seen or heard had broken something fundamental in him. I threw off my blankets and grabbed the backpack from him. Tell me right now what happened or I'm not going anywhere. Caleb's face crumpled for just a second before he forced it back into that scary, calm mask. I woke up to use the bathroom and I heard Mom and Dad talking in the kitchen. They didn't know I was awake. They were talking about how we're getting too old, how we ask too many questions now, how the people they work for said it's time to cut loose ends before we figure things out. His voice dropped even lower. Mom said your name first, Avery. She said you've been asking about why we never visit grandparents or why we don't have any baby pictures from before we moved here. Dad said we could handle it this weekend when we go on that camping trip they've been planning. Make it look like an accident. 2 kids drowned in the lake. Tragic story. Happens all the time. I stared at him, my brain refusing to process what he was saying because parents don't talk about killing their own children. But then I remembered things that had never quite made sense. How we'd moved to this town when I was 6 and Caleb was 3, and Mom and Dad always said we couldn't contact anyone from before because there had been a situation with dangerous people. How they homeschooled us and never let us have friends over. How Dad would disappear for days sometimes and come back with duffel bags full of cash that Mom would count at the kitchen table while we were supposed to be sleeping. How I'd found fake IDs in the garage last year with our parents' faces but different names, and when I asked about them, Dad had gotten this look that made me never bring it up again. All the weird pieces suddenly rearranged into a picture that made my stomach hurt. The knife, I whispered. Why do you have Dad's knife and why is there blood on it? Caleb's eyes filled with tears, but his voice stayed steady. I went to the gun safe to get something we could use to protect ourselves if they tried to stop us from leaving, but it was already open and the knife was just sitting there on Dad's workbench with blood on it, fresh blood that was still wet, and there was a wallet next to it with someone's ID and credit cards, someone I've never seen before, someone who's probably dead now because of what our parents did tonight. He wiped his eyes and thrust my backpack at me. We can process this later, but right now, we have to leave this house before they wake up and realize we know too much. Everything in me wanted to argue, to say this was insane, to wake up our parents and demand an explanation, but looking at my little brother holding a bloody knife in my bedroom in the middle of the night, I couldn't make myself believe there was a reasonable explanation. I grabbed the backpack and started shoving useful things into it. Phone charger, emergency cash, a jacket, my laptop. Caleb went to his room and came back with his own backpack stuffed with clothes and his tablet, and I could see he'd been planning this carefully because he also had a first aid kit and bottles of water and granola bars. How are we leaving? I asked quietly. Dad keeps the car keys on him and the spare set is in their bedroom. We can't get to them without walking right past their door. Caleb pulled something from his pocket that made my breath catch. He had a full set of car keys I didn't recognize, attached to a keychain with someone else's initials. These were with the wallet, Caleb said, his voice completely flat. I'm guessing they belong to whoever Dad killed tonight. There's a car parked 2 houses down that I've never seen before, a blue sedan. I checked and these keys unlock it. We can take that car and be gone before anyone notices. The casual way he said, whoever Dad killed tonight, made something crack inside my chest. I took the keys from him and we moved through the dark house like ghosts, every creak making my heart stop. I could hear Dad snoring from the master bedroom and see the faint light under the door. That meant Mom was probably reading in bed like she did every night. Normal sounds from normal parents who were apparently planning to kill us this weekend. We made it to the front door and I slowly turned the deadbolt, praying it wouldn't make the clicking sound it usually did, but that's when things got out of control. Full story is linked below or on my channel.